Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another podcast. Now, it's a bit unusual because this is probably going to be our most exciting podcast to date. If you're not aware, the 1st of June today marks the release of our first wave of double O gauge kits. Now, this has been a really exciting venture for us. It's the first time we've made and developed kits, and now we're selling them. So, if you'd like to check it out, well, spoiler alert, this is what the whole podcast is going to be about. But if you'd like to check them out, there's going to be a link in the description to the eBay store. We've got loads of different stuff going there, but we'll tell you more about it as we go on through the pod.
Luke, as you were the main product developer for this, where do you want to start? What kit do you want to start with?
Shall we start with our flagship kit, the Children Wagon? I think this one took the most development, and it's probably my favourite kit out of the range.
Definitely, they are great fun to have about. So, if you are wondering what we mean by Children Wagon, there will obviously be one on screen now, and it'll actually be one of ours. Now, Children Wagons were very common in the early days of railways, very common amongst chain-driven railways and the like, as well as venturing out onto what were the main lines at the time on the occasions. They're mainly used for carrying about coal or other minerals, which obviously were the reason for the railways exist. Now, ready to run, there's not many of these. Why did you still want to make and ready to run?
So there are a couple kits out there, but they're very expensive, and we wanted to offer a kind of a budget-friendly one, I guess. But something for me as well is I've got a colliery layout, and I know you've got a colliery layout, and they're just kind of very iconic of collieries, and they were still fairly common, I guess, in the 50s and 60s, which are the periods that we're modelling. So I really wanted to model it kind of for us as well. But there's also so many great photos out and about of them. It's really inspirational. And it's kind of maybe one of the missing bits in my rolling stock, if you like. I had thought about scratch building them before, but it wasn't as efficient to scratch build loads than it was to scratch build one and then make a resin casting. So it's kind of something more for me and for you, but something we'd like to offer as well. Now, it did require quite a lot of development. I developed the own chassis, as well as the body, and then it comes with wheels and whatnot to finish it off. So it did take a long time, and I think it also taught me a lot of skills as well. So this was probably the most complicated kit I'd approached. It's the most recent kit, the last kit I decided to work on. And I think I definitely learned a lot from it. And it's probably my favourite in the range, easily.
Yeah, it's a personal highlight for me. This actually came about from a little bit of a discussion almost on our Instagram live stream, which was particularly nice. I remember us going into great detail about it, sharing videos and the like from it. And yeah, these things were used in the 50s, 60s, a couple of them were used into the 70s and 80s, normally on spoiled trains from collieries. But why did you choose to go for, you describe it as a budget-friendly approach, why did you choose to go for something that was a little bit more expensive?
Well, it comes down to guess what materials we have access to. Now, currently we don't have access to a 3D printer, and we don't have access to any etching services. And it also, the fact that we're using resin, it means that people can have a go, buy one, have a go with it as maybe a first kit, or, it's quite easy to work with as well, resin. So if you did want to modify it, it's pretty easy to. And also with budget friendly, we kind of just attract a wider market. And it should also make it easier and cheaper for people to build up rigs, because it was very rare you did see just a single Shouldren, around. I guess you would see them like occasionally singles in the yard, but they often ran in kind of block trains together. So we kind of wanted to make it so that people could build up a rake easily and quickly and quite cheaply as well.
And yeah, you mentioned new with them, and I think that's going to be a common theme for the whole of this video, is that not only are they cheap kits that can be good as first kits, but they can also be modified a bit. So they are modelers kits as well, which is particularly nice. And having put together a couple of these myself, they go together particularly nice. Now, they include wheels, or at least some of them do. What wheels are we using and why?
So we're using Dapol spoked wheels. Now, the reason why we chose these is they are quite high quality. They're fully metal axle, and kind of like the actual wheel is metal, and they look great. They're the closest representation to the prototypes we could find, and they're also quite an affordable way to buy them. Now, we do have to buy them direct from Dapol, so we did have to kind of get past that hurdle, I guess. But now we've kind of we know it's sourced them from and stuff like that. They're a great way. Now, if we were to use wheels from Bachmann or Hornby, then we will have a variant on sale without wheels. So if you want it a little bit cheaper and source from wheels, you can. But the wheels from other manufacturers, which were of a similar quality, would double the price. So the kit would have to be, closer to £10 than just under eight.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. And do you want to just double check the price with us? And why don't you just tell everybody what the price is exactly?
Yes, the price for a shoulder wagon with wheels, everything comes with it, is £7.99. And personally, I think that's quite a good price. It kind of puts us on par with kind of Parkside and some other kits, and it also gives room for you to be able to buy and build up a rake fairly quickly and easily. There is also multi-buy. I set this up on eBay. So if you buy four or more, you get 25% off. So it's even cheaper. I think you can buy three shoulder wagons for about £20 with that kind of discount, which comes through on eBay.
That is, I mean, obviously I am part of this venture, but that is a really good price for three wagons. That are unique as well, because there's a couple of white metal kits available, but none of this sort of price range. And of this kind of style of wagon as well, because obviously there were lots of variants of Shouldrons. And is it a particular prototype that this is based on, or something else?
It is not a particular prototype. I found that when I was doing the research stage, which I really, really enjoyed. This is something I'd never really considered before, the amount of research I'd have to do just to find out about one particular wagon. And I did find it quite challenging at times, but I did find a few drawings, and I did base this shoulder wagon off a combination of lots of Shouldrons. So I think the wheelbase is kind of maybe a slightly longer variant Shouldron. You could, chop this up a little bit to make it a shorter variant quite easily. But I'd say a lot of inspiration was drawn from some of the Scottish collieries. But again, Children's just got absolutely everywhere, and they lasted so long, and they were built by so many people that it's much more a generic kind of representation. And you could modify in little ways to suit different kind of suitings and applications and industrial settings.
Definitely, definitely. It's so Japan's moved on to another. Obviously, all of them are exciting, but another one that I've particularly enjoyed playing about with, and that are the dumb buffers, which I've got written down here that there's 8 in a kit. So do you want to talk about what the dumb buffers are? Obviously, they'll be on screen at the moment, but and why you chose to use 8?
Yeah, so dumb buffers are essentially wood. Well, in the prototype, there'll be wooden blocks fastened on in alternative to kind of metal kind of sprung buffers. They're really cheap, and they're also really common on some industrial railways, particularly ironstone railways, I believe, and also kind of in the pre-grouping era before metal buffers were kind of made cheap enough and were commonplace. Oh, and pack of eight as well. So there's enough to do one loco and one wagon, or one loco and another loco. And I decided to sell a pack of eight just so you'd be better value for money than you. Otherwise, we'd the profit, how everything would work out, would be a little bit more complicated. So a pack of eight just meant we could get it to you at a more kind of, I guess, more affordable price. But it's £2.99 for a pack of eight, so I think it's still fairly well priced.
Definitely, I don't much say so, and I've particularly enjoyed fitting them to my packet, or at least one of them. I mean, it was really nice fitting them. A lot easier than you think once you get over the fact you have just got to cut off the buffers. They do come off very easily on even on that model, which is obviously a high-end Hornby one. If you get it with the right sort of blade, it comes off very easily. Do you fancy to talk about another one?
Yeah,
Or is
can
there
I just
anything else you'd like to add?
Can I say that
Go
I
for it.
fitted dumb buffers to my Andrew Barkley, and I think they look pretty good.
They do.
This was the first kit I actually developed, and it's got to be again one of my favourites. But it's difficult to pick a favourite, I guess, out of this batch. And they're really, really easy to fit and paint, and you need to get over the fear of removing the buffers. A simple saw or even a craft knife and a file, which is what I used, will get the buffers off really easily. Um, and they just really, really make your loco stand out because there's only one loco at the moment, I believe, in RTR that comes with dumb buffers, and that's one of the Hornby LNYR pugs. And even then, those dumb buffers are quite a different shape. Dumb buffers came in all shapes and sizes, so it definitely sets your models apart. And I think it's one of the most key changes I guess you can make to a loco to make it kind of look more industrial and unique.
Definitely, it completely changes the face of them, doesn't it? Um, so why don't we talk about the point lever kits while we're here? They're supplied in a pack of 4. So do you want to talk through what the kits are?
Yeah, so these kits are a pack of 4 point lever bases. We've already seen quite a lot of interest in this kit. A couple of people have DM'd me about it, and I've already um, people are quite interested on eBay as well. And they come in a pack of 4, so you get 4 resin bases and you get 4 bits of wire to represent kind of the lever, and that's enough to do 4 points, obviously. They're 2.99, which I think is very good, and they come pre-drilled. So there's a hole drilled into the resin base, which you just stick the wire in, a bit of super glue, paint it. They look great. I actually made the master from this using real wood, so you really get a really authentic wooden grain look. That's probably one of the best textures I've been able to cast with resin um, to date. And then they just go down the layout, and I think they make a really big difference to the look of your line side. And there are a few kind of similar kits out available, but again, they're not available in this kind of smaller pack size because a lot of people build small layouts. They don't need a pack of 20 point levers, for so much money. And so we're trying to sell in smaller packs again. There's a multi-buy offer. So the more you buy, the more you save, which is kind of encouraging multi purchases, I guess. But yeah, I find that they suit a wide range of eras as well. I think you still see the similar style to the present day, and I think you kind of started seeing them around in about the 40s, 30s as well.
Definitely, and they really do lift track sides. They are that perfect little bit of detailing to just add to a little layout. It really just bring them to life. You interestingly noted about the wood effect on those. The shoulder markers have got wood effect on that. How have you done that?
So that's actually using kind of scored plasticard and some of the wooden texture plasticards as well. And then with like plastic strip over that as well to get different textures. And I tried to get some rivet detail in it as well and kind of bolt detail. It was quite a bit of work, but I think it really kind of sets it apart as well. One of the comments we got from some of the feedback we got before we've released the kits is that they really like the wooden grain texture on the shoulder. And something else to note on the shoulder is that this has probably gone through more refinement than any of the kits. We've gone through multiple variants of the bodies and the chassis to get where we're at. So it's really that. I mean, I keep coming back to it, it's probably my favorite kit, but that kit is a real story of kind of development and working hard to try to get it right. And I think we're pretty much there now. I'm pretty pleased with it.
Definitely. They've been neatened up and they've been tested extensively by myself and a couple of other people. You make videos for those on it elsewhere on the YouTubes. But yeah, speaking of which, this was another one of the kits that was sent out to people as a trial. The industrial water tower kit. Why industrial? Why not just say to people who use an RTR Pico one?
So something that's really distinct, I think, to industrial engine shed scenes, after I've done a lot of research on Quantum Colliery, which is an engine shed scene, Techno Colliery, is that a lot of kind of those kind of war cells were very different to the Pico ones, which are kind of more column based. I do have one of those kits somewhere, but the industrial sites needed something cheaper they could build themselves, something much more homemade, kind of rugged, and also something of a much smaller capacity. Now our kits are actually cheaper than the Pico ones as well. Just going to put it out there, $349 for an industrial water tower kit, and I'm looking at doing a bundle with a diesel tank kit I'm still to develop to go with that. But why go industrial? Well, they were inspired, well, loosely inspired, off photos of collieries and also of Beamish. And I just kind of wanted to capture that kind of difference, because if we just made one that basically copied Pico, it wouldn't really make it stand out or anything like that. So I just thought we'd go for industrial, though it will suit small branch line stations and even small engine shed scenes as well.
Certainly, especially with the brick sides as well. That really does. It really offers them up. You can paint the brickwork up differently, and it obviously seems like it's in a different area, which is something that's brilliant about brickwork within model railways in general. One thing that I will just note about that is that there's no piping supplied with it. Is there a particular reason for that?
Not as such. Again, I feel that piping is a detail that modelers may like to add, and we're really encouraging through these kits for people to be able to take our kits and make it something their own. To be able to paint it how they like or do something how they like. And I think that this kit is just an example of that, really. Piping to it in the future, it's something I'm not too sure about. Again, there are just so many variations. I mean, personally, the models that you see on eBay and the model that I've built up doesn't have any piping on it yet, and it might never do. If you really want to add piping to it, You could add like a bit of kind of ink tube on a pen or a bit of sprue. That will give you some really nice rounded edges. And yeah, I just kind of feel like I'm going to leave it up to the modeler to decide. It was also at the time quite a difficult mold to make, so I may come back to it and mess around with it and update the kit. But for now, I think it's quite nice as a baseline model for a model to be able to take and work on it and take it to whatever level they would like to.
Certainly, and they do look really good on your layout and the other layouts that we've seen them on. So coming on to the last product of this first batch of releases, it's a toolbox. Why a toolbox? Why?
So if you don't know, I really like Rustons. Like I really like Rustons. Especially since when Hornby announced their 48DS Ruston, I one had to be mine. And since getting one of the ones in work screen, I just absolutely love it. It's probably my favorite logo I've got. There's just so much kind of charm about it, and I really wanted to enhance it. And I know so many people have Rustons, and so there's a great market to kind of target, I guess. And when I was looking through Rustons, I looked through loads of pictures of like different detailing parts people might want and stuff like that. I found a picture of an army Ruston, a military Ruston. And this had additional battery boxes and toolboxes on kind of the running board area. Now, I've not created the battery boxes because they're very bland and simple, just a box with battery kind of painted on the side. But the toolbox took my fancy because it's not only it would suit lots of locos apart from the Ruston. Now, the product photos are on eBay are on my Ruston, and it just feels like it would fit so many different settings. So some of the test kits we sent out to people have found home on permanent waste stock as kind of like a toolbox you might have on like a crane wagon or something like that, and also on kind of a fictional mainline loco running board. So they could just fit in so many places, and it's a detail that I would love to fit on loads of locos, just because I think running board details again are just a really easy way to lift the look of the model. I mean, I think you fitted like oil cans and stuff to the running boards on your models, and they just look awesome. So I wanted to try and create a similar kind of style of detail that would just kind of lift the model. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly, I've particularly enjoyed playing about with the kits that have been sent, as well as casting my own as well. But yeah, the toolkits are an interesting one, and something that we're coming back to with pretty much every single one of these answers is people like modelling differently to what other people do. So obviously these toolkits can be stuck to pretty much any model, and they will just make it that a little bit more unique. And I particularly enjoy the fact, obviously being
Yeah.
based on the Ruston, they do sit particularly well on the Rustons, I must admit. But I'm particularly looking forward to sticking some on the side of my packets, also on the sides, maybe my 2P, something like that.
Mm.
They look good for detailing up
Yeah.
yard scenes as well.
Can I just add that if you don't want to, this is kind of the advantage. This is probably one of the few kits that you can do this with when it comes to loco detailing. But if you have a loco and you think I might want to sell that on in the future, you can just blue tack these on. There's no need for glue. I would advise if it's kind of a permanent fix. When I was doing the photographs of my Ruston, that was just a tiny little blob of blue tack, and you could take it off and there was no mark of residue or anything. So if you're unsure about detailing locos or you want to kind of get into detailing locos on something like obstetrical models apart and you don't really want to commit by gluing stuff to it or something like that, this is a really nice kind of stepping stone into that. And it's something that I think is a great opportunity for people to take up.
Certainly, and let's face it, a massive part of modelling is detailing locomotives to us, and everybody needs a way in. And what we were always set out to do with these models was to encourage older modelers, more experienced modelers to do some modelling with them, but also younger modelers, and by that I mean like younger and experienced of modelling, is to get involved in kit building as well, because it can seem very scary, especially with the price. I know it's cliche, but with the price of some kits and things, it can be very off-putting. And in this first wave, we've got things for detailing line side, locomotives, yard areas, actual rolling stock as well. I think it's a particularly good first run.
Definitely, it's a run that I think we're both really proud to launch. Now we do have lots of big plans for the future as well. So I know um, because I developed that chassis and we've got that chassis running really nicely. We've got good wheels for it. It just opens up a huge kind of potential for lots of other industrial style wagons that, again, aren't really available in kit form or ready to run either. So we're kind of trying to fill that void, I guess, and also it would suit both our layouts pretty nicely. So if you do have any suggestions for
Certainly.
kits or you'd like to see, again, drop it down in the comment section below, or we'd love to hear back from you.
Certainly, certainly. Just before I begin to wrap things up, is there anything else that you'd like to comment on upon your babies, which is what this kit range is?
Um, my babies. I've been pregnant for 6 months. Not really. I feel this is something I've wanted to do for years, and I'm really proud that I can finally have some stuff for sale. And we're going to sell some kits as well. So it's a great way to support the channel, and it's a great way to help us grow as well. At the end of the day, the profits kind of go to us and help the channel to grow, to be able to provide more content for you, and maybe get us a new Ruston or something like that as well. So it'd be a great way to support us. It's very different to a Patreon or anything like that, where you just chuck in a couple of quid in it each month. It's you get a lot out of it, and it's a great opportunity as well. So I think make the most of it.
Exactly. Whether you're just dipping your toes in kit building, or whether you've been kit building for half a decade, these kits will be perfect because you can do whatever you want with them. Whatever you do with them, though, our conversation will stop here. But this is where the conversation for you can begin. As soon as you get a delivery, let us know on Instagram. As soon as you've done something with it, let us know us on Instagram. We'll be sticking up stories and things of people's posts and things. DM us if you've got any ideas for kits. And yeah, the social media side of this is something we're really keen on using to help this grow. So yeah, let us know on Instagram, tag us in it, let us know on DMs, everything like that. And we'll do a future podcast on looking what people have done with our kits, a little bit like what we've done with the A4 diorama competition podcast. I'm particularly looking forward to seeing what people do with them, because I think that's a very rewarding part of these kits, is seeing what people do. Obviously, I've not been involved in the design of these kits, but ideas for them, and obviously I've tested them. Obviously, what me and Luke have done with them is different to what our testers have done with them, which is different to what hopefully you guys will do with them. So yeah, the links, as we've mentioned before, will be in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. We really hope that you guys can get on board with us. Follow us on Instagram, on our personal accounts, and on the Train Crash Pod one, where you've seen all the updates with regards to these kits as well. And one thing that I have realised that we did forget to mention is the packaging is lovely. It's nice little boxes. It's a nice little thing to have through in the post. I appreciate it's particularly nice. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you guys again very, very soon.